Our opening thought comes from Susan J. Ritchie and her essay titled The Flaming Chalice. She writes, "At its most literal level of meaning, the flaming chalice signals Unitarian Universalist identity, but it has other registers of meaning as well. It suggests the transformations that take place when we are held within religious community. When we light the chalice in worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. The flame is what one of our beloved congregational hymns terms the fire of commitment." Our next reading comes from the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association. It's titled Flaming Chalice, Symbol of Unitarian Universalism. A flame within a chalice, a cup with a stem and foot, is a primary symbol of Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. Many of our congregations kindle a flaming chalice in gatherings and worships and feature the chalice symbol prominently. Hans Deutsch, an Austrian artist, first brought together the chalice and the flame as a Unitarian symbol during his work with the Unitarian Service Committee during World War II. To Deutsch, the image had connotations of sacrifice and love. Unitarian Universalists today have many different interpretations of the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. Our current official UUA logo debuted in 2014, offering a visual representation of a modern and dynamic faith. Unitarian Universalist congregations are free to use the UUA's logo in their congregational work, but they are not required to do so. Because of this, you may see many different styles of flaming chalices and other images used by Unitarian Universalist congregations. Our second reading also comes from Susan J. Ritchie, The Flaming Chalice. I enjoy the chalice's lack of predetermined meaning. One way to understand Unitarian Universalism's distinctive character is to see it as an orthopraxy. Orthopraxy stresses that the most important religious bonds are formed out of justice and justice actions and loving practice. This contrasts with orthodoxy, more common in the Christian traditions, which stresses correct and often homogeneous beliefs as the most important aspect of religion. The chalice was a symbol invented to represent courageous deeds that were already taking place, which was then developed by children in the cradle of love. So today I'm going to reflect some on the meaning of the light of our chalice. We've already read some about the history and some of the different interpretations of the chalice. I want to begin by remembering back to one of the darker times in our collective memory, September 11th, 2001. Because when I think of the light of the chalice, I think of lighting up the world, even in the midst of a time of deep darkness. And certainly September 11th, 2001 was one of those days. Those of us who are from Oklahoma City were perhaps prepared a little bit more for the scale and the shock of that day, but even so, no one could really be prepared for that day. I was teaching at Classen School of Advanced Studies that morning in Oklahoma City, where I would go over and teach in the International Baccalaureate program for students in that school as part of my work with Oklahoma City University. And I was also teaching at Oklahoma City University that day. And I was in the first hour at Classen as it was ending that the first tower was hit. And the rest of the day, classes obviously were canceled at Oklahoma City University, but the students were wandering around trying to figure out as much information as they could and just simply make it through the day. And professors and administrators at OCU stayed on hand during that day to care for our students, to help them make it through that day, and also perhaps simply to help each other make it through that day as well. We came together in different locations where there were TVs or ways of looking at the news, to be with one another, to share with one another in grief, in mourning for what was happening, and also to share with one another in that feeling of great uncertainty about what the future might bring. And by the end of the day, I had made it home, and I was talking with my wife, Kristen, who happened to be about 2/3 of the way through her pregnancy with our first daughter, Ray. The next day was to be my birthday, September 12th, but that was one of the last things on my mind on that day. We ended the day taking a walk in our neighborhood, talking to each other about what kind of world we were bringing our child into. Her due date was actually December 25th of that year, and we did not know what kind of world we were bringing her into. We were scared, as was everyone on that day. We didn't know what the future would bring. And then a few months later, on December 20th, when my wife and I were shopping at Camp's grocery store in Oklahoma City. Anybody know? That's a kind of historic grocery store in Oklahoma City. We had just finished shopping there, and we walked out the door, and Kristen looked up at me and said, "It's time." And it was a look where I knew it was time. Our first child was about to be born. And 24 years ago, in the wee hours of the morning of the shortest day of the year, December 21st, our older daughter, Ray, our winter solstice baby, was born in 2001, a year that made us wonder what kind of world we were bringing her into. And the last 24 years has certainly been a challenging time for all of humanity ever since that day. But it seems like the history of humanity has been a challenging time for humanity, but it's certainly been a challenging time since that day. One thing I know for sure is that our Ray brought light into the world then and continues to do so to this day. And at that time, I can remember, as my wife and I were looking at each other right after Ray was born, so thankful for epidurals, that we saw in her birth a flame of hope that we so desperately needed during a time of devastating darkness. So you can see right away that I have a close personal connection to the winter solstice and the importance of light. It's not that darkness is a bad thing, but too much darkness is a bad thing. And as we're getting at this point of the year, we're at that point where any more darkness would be too much. And it's time for the light to be coming back into our world. So on this day, with the most darkness of the year, I would like for us to reflect on the rich meaning of the chalice of our Unitarian Universalist tradition and challenge ourselves to do all that we can in this community and beyond to bring the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope into a broken world. As we experience this, the shortest day of the year for this part of the world, context matters. In the southern hemisphere, they're ready to have some darkness come back, especially in some areas that are probably extremely hot right now. But as we experience this shortest day of the year here in the northern hemisphere, and as we prepare for the return of longer days, let us reflect on the ways we can bring light into the darkness of this world like so many did who have gone before us, and like so many are doing who journey this earth with us now. In times that are overly dark, when it appears that the light may not return, and in times full of fear and hatred and violence, it is important to remember that the forces of darkness, the forces of evil in days, years, and centuries past, they often thought that they would have the last word, only to see that love and justice have a way of not being fully overcome by the darkness, finding a way to continue to live on. I hope that we can live in this hope, that we may live out this hope into the world as we sprinkle the darkness with our light, with the stars of community, with the stars of love. And this hope for a better world in which light and truth and love and courage and justice might prevail over darkness, hate, fear, and injustice. I believe that's what the light of our chalice stands for. The light of our chalice helps us make our path forward to a more beloved community. And even when the flame of the chalice is not literally lit, because we know we turn it off at the end of the service, it still shines. It still shines within our hearts and within all of the actions of love and justice we express towards a world in need. We carry that light with us wherever we go. For us who are living here in the Northern Hemisphere, and especially for those living in the northernmost regions of the Northern Hemisphere, we are in that time of the year when we are looking for more light to come into our world, and we are looking for ways to bring more light and warmth into this time of long and cold nights, whether it be the light of a chalice or a candle, or the lights of decoration that we see within our community, or the light and warmth of beloved community. We are searching for the light. This winter, it's especially important for us to be in solidarity with all of those who by force or because of other circumstance do not have enough light in their lives, who do not have enough warmth in their lives, and that may be physical or emotional. We, as a community, have the opportunity to be the light with them and the warmth for each other, especially with those who are the most vulnerable among us. May we be the light and warmth of community for the most vulnerable among us. At the end of each of our services here, we conclude the service with these words. When we extinguish the chalice, we say together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. On this winter solstice, may we be reminded that the light of truth and the warmth of community not only will return, they will return, but they will eventually overcome the darkness. That's our hope, that the light of truth and the warmth of community will overcome the darkness. But it will take all of us, every one of us, to rekindle the fire of commitment to bring love and justice into this world. May we rekindle that fire of commitment.